micho na misanso mu akwa abaso nkoso enfa me channel so ha da so ye be media GH abuso be se ene ne dedi kon twa channel so a ene de no bo kwan so ye be se waso be subscribe be like na wa bo aso share ma foforo pense no bi atie no anya bi atie na busua eye political analyst ba ko na ba abonten a o kire ne nsemu a say ye kofa eye a former president and Addo Akufo-Addo say ye kofa no e de enti abusua ni na efri eye Ken Ofori-Atta nsensem ya say abusua ya twe na OSP atwe no say ankobeba na de no ho aba be piem ewo eye oman Ghana na eche say accountability bi wo abusua wa account e de ama eye oman no abusua be sin ne Ken Ofori-Atta emaye na o che ne nsemu a Ken Ofori-Atta efri eye oman mu ha no OSP eye kisi ejaben si ohun no na die enti na kisi ejaben ammo amane ama ya stop eye Ken Ofori-Atta no hwe eye ema Ken Ofori-Atta efri oman mu na busua no sanso de to just say the best thing ene ade ebebo no say say yokofa e papa Addo Akufo-Addo yes a former president Addo Akufo-Addo say yokofa no say free Ken Ofori-Atta no say Ken Ofori-Atta emma Addo Dankwa ene say yokofa no because ono ena appointed eye Ken Ofori-Atta na se gata ne proye bi akoso abra na Ken Ofori-Atta ewo aban mu a che se watwe sika bia de free oban no ho a the best thing is say free Ken Ofori ye free eye Addo Akufo-Addo na etie nanumu ensem ne de ensem bi ebisa no abusua we de ma mekasa ma pese konekotie ensem a ode atudwa efa eye Ken Ofori-Atta His Excellency your former president Addo Akufo-Addo ene eye OSP kisi ajaben ho emra sese ha Ada so ebe media GH abuso body aso be subscribe be like na wa bo aso share ma for person bet no anya bi ati yinti nsem no makasa enchire mu ema sesia me da se.
Organize a press conference and Ghanaians would have massed up at the airport and stopped him. For not doing so, he's incompetent and he has to resign. What say you? President Akufo-Addo, let's remember he cancelled about 2 of the contracts at the initial stages after the KPMG audit. Now, after the OSP's work, the President John Mahama has also cancelled the rest of the contracts, and we are told that the value of the cancelled 5-year upstream contract is about $3 billion.
We don't know about whether, without formal charges, he could have prevented from leaving the country. But I think there is value in your point that it will seem as if as long as the Nana Akufo-Addo government remained in power, Ken Ofori-Atta was untouchable, and so were quite a lot of other people. I think we need to move towards a justice system where, regardless of who is in power or whatever your position is, independent agencies or supposedly independent agencies like the OSP can go after people. After all, that is why the OSP was set up in the first place, so that it could resist political pressure. But to be honest though, even the Attorney General's office in a country that is serious ought to be able to go after people. After all, that is why the United States brought the idea of special counsel. Clinton was president when the special counsel was named to investigate him. We've seen that Trump was also in office when one was named to investigate him. We need to move away from this system where being an incumbent seems to insulate you from judicial processes and you can do whatever you like with impunity. In effect, we seem to be practicing serial one-party dictatorships that last 4 or 8-year terms. And then once that is over, then the other party comes and they make noise about how we are shocked about why all these things happen. So where was Parliament when these things were happening? Well, there are a lot of people who have questions to answer as to what happened. And remember how a lot of even MPs wanted Mr. Ofori-Atta removed, and for a whole year, all of them couldn't get one person removed. And in effect, if we are talking about the sins of Ken Ofori-Atta, he was reporting to somebody. I think at some point we need to be asking the president, the former president, questions about what he was doing while his ministers were looting our coffers dry. I think he has a moral responsibility to be asked to address some of these things.
I don't know what Vicky wants to say. Is it a lost cause? And as someone, as a lawyer, 78 counts. That's historic. I think it was in Gloria Kufuor's time that we have a charge sheet that had over close to 50 or so counts, and we're like, whoa, this never happened before.
Yes, I mean, when I saw the number of counts, I was.
Of course, they're against 8 people.
Yes, but still, there's a, I think it must be historic, as you said, because post-Glorious time, this is the highest number that we've seen. I think that the whole OSP argument is becoming increasingly uncomfortable and difficult for the OSP, because the public for a long time has made it clear that they feel that he has a legitimacy and a credibility issue. There was an overwhelming support, and for various reasons that has now gotten to where it has gotten to the point that now you could see that that whole thing has turned into a bit of a credibility deficit. And so there's now a credibility deficit at the OSP, and they have to work hard. They really have to work hard to repair that deficit, because it's widening. So that is my starting point.
So explain that to the ordinary listener. What's this thing about the credibility deficit at the OSP?
Yes, because, to normal Ghanaians, their money allegedly has been stolen. That's how they look at it. They want the money back. The OSP has been given a mandate to aid in recovering that money and to punish the alleged or anyone who is found to be culpable.
Over 1.4 billion
4 billion
at stake.
At stake. It's a lot of money. People starving, there are people dying in hospitals, etc., etc. So it's an anti-corruption fight. And the state of corruption in this country has been shocking, nothing short of shocking. And at times you sit there and wonder whether things will change in our lifetime. I am someone who looks at the glass half full, so I like to think that things will change. And the point of the credibility deficit is that without that, how do you actually present yourself as the czar fighting this thing? Because it's huge. It's mammoth. And so for you to actually fight, you need the support of everyone. The institutions, the people, everybody has to be on board. And for everyone to be on board, you need to be seen as a credible fighter against this animal that we are all facing, against this canker that is engulfing and killing Ghana in all directions. So credibility then becomes so important. And so when you see that credibility is weakening, or it's creating a gap or a deficit, you have to quickly move to repair it. Because if you don't, then the office becomes toothless.
So that's what I want you to speak about. What is it? That the accusations that I've heard someone say that this is a grand scheme to let Ken O.Atta off. So the office watched for him to escape out of this country. And now they have put the charges, they may do everything in his absence and so on and so forth, and he doesn't get to suffer anything really. But of course, Dr. Atta Kennedy disagrees that he doesn't suffer any reputational damage or something.
Yes, I mean, I also, just to comment on that last point, I agree that you don't, you do suffer because you are now, if the person is convicted, they become a convicted criminal, a felon. So that obviously is not anything that any of us would want against our character, especially someone who has held such a high and very critical office.
So back to the credibility issue, that this is a scheme to let him off the hook?
You see, I don't know whether it's a scheme, but that is the perception. And this is what I mean by a credibility deficit.
Okay.
Because that is now the public's perception, rightly or wrongly. Because look, here we are, 78 charges. And that is where our focus should be. And instead, where is our focus? The focus is on the fact that the former minister was allowed to leave the country. So the focus has shifted from where it should be.
But that's not the OSP.
Where we are now.
So that's not a question of credibility to the OSP, right?
No, I'm saying that the perception that we have or that the public has now led to a shift by the public into looking at the wrong thing, if you like, instead of, 70. I mean, this is a serious, and for us lawyers, it's historic. And for any ordinary Ghanaian to be told that 8 people have had 78 charges proffered against them, I mean, that is a very serious matter, whichever way you look at it. And, so the OSP's office is meant to be built on fearlessness and independence. That is it. I mean, that was the whole point of having this office. So for Ghanaians to perceive that he watched, as Ken freely left, is causing an institutional state.
That's not a perception. That is he saying so. That they saw him leave. Literally, he said they saw him leave or they watched him leave because they were powerless and they couldn't do what had to be done. They needed support from other institutions, and it was practically impossible to get the support at the time when Ken O.Atta's government was in place.
Yes, and I think we need to be a bit sympathetic to that argument from the OSP, that he leaned on all these organizations and they didn't support him. However, he himself has powers.
Correct.
He himself has powers.
He's got powers, so police powers to arrest.
He has all those powers.
And Martin Pebu say at least he should have done a press conference and the public would have run to the airport and stop him.
Well, press conference, yes. Public running to go and grab him. That one we need to tread with caution, because imagine it could have easily deteriorated into a mob situation. But I do agree that he should have held it, because he's very good at doing these press conferences. I mean, he keeps telling us this, that, and the other. So that should have been perhaps the first press conference that he should have done.
So that if he became aware this morning, what's the time now, is 9:40, thereabout, and he's got information that Ken O.Atta is at the airport, maybe immediately by 9:45 or 9:50, he would have organized a press conference and that would have stopped him. Yes,
because he had prior notice. He had prior notice. If he didn't, that would be a different thing. So you cannot blame people for holding that viewpoint. And I don't really know how.
And for not doing that, he's incompetent, so he ought to check out of the office.
Well, in Ghana, as you said a short while ago, nobody resigns on any ground. I mean, look at what happened in Elwak, which we were talking about. If anyone should have resigned, it should have been then, instantly. But here we are. People are eating their wachi and their kenke and carrying on as usual. That is the Ghana that we have today, sadly, So for me, we have now, that by his inaction, we have now found ourselves in a position where someone who he believes he has questions for, and serious questions, and who is uniquely placed to answer those questions, is not actually in the jurisdiction. And you are now trying to bring the person back. I mean, look, self-preservation is a very important.
Oguswa uti na osha insam no ede my subscribe, like to Jumadi and share Nema for friends and can be kindly click on the notification bell so send be the news be out platform so also work the echo and the air that the ever POG media yawo insam pa edema Jumadi no etwaso our family
thing. So who in this situation is going to come back willingly?
Do you recall what Ghanaian said when he attempted to the office attempted to have him, come to answer when he gave the excuse that he was not well, he was receiving medical treatment? The public said he was being heartless, he was not being compassionate, and he couldn't be treating such a notable figure that way.
I mean, look, human health, our health is all we have.
So what do we want? What exactly do we want? If we say he escaped, and we have gotten to know that he was going for medical help, and the man was going to go after him then later, and we said you don't do that to someone who is unwell, and now we say you let him go, and he says we were unable. Now we say What do we want?
So if he was going to go after him over there, because the horse had already bolted, right? So if he was going to go after him and he was there and now he sees him walking around in Washington, D.C. or wherever, and he wants to go after him, then he should go after him. He has the resources, to go after him. If he truly believes that there are serious questions that need to be answered, and the former minister is uniquely placed to answer those questions, because look, he was the guardian of our public purse.
From where you sit and what you know, is the Ken O.Atta being pursued by the OSP?
Well, I don't see any pursuit.
Okay.
I don't see any pursuit. I see a lot of rhetoric. I see a lot of press conferences. But in terms of actions, I don't see...
What sort of action, for example, beyond issuing the red alert, the red notice, getting him, stopped and limiting his movement and all of that?
People from his office can go to the US and talk to him. He also offered to, I think, do Zoom or whatever.
Okay.
So there are various things that could have also been done to help maybe expedite us getting to this stage. Because yes, now there are charges, but maybe those charges may have come earlier. Assets could have been frozen if arrests had been made. Because right now, look, the way the world is, if you're dealing with people with sophisticated financial nous, and you've waited, 10 months, 11 months, if someone wants to get rid of their assets, by now, they would all be gone.
Okay.
So you are fighting a Pyrrhic, whatever victory you secure will be a Pyrrhic victory. Asset freeze is the first thing that you do. The first thing that you do. And if you have to arrest
the suspicion is that by now, Ken O.Atta and those who are being pursued would have concealed their assets or sold them off?
Highly intelligent people. I don't know what they've done. And I'm not here to suggest that they've done one thing or the other. But what I am saying is that anyone with any financial nous, and we are dealing with very sophisticated, intelligent people, is not going to sit there and watch, for 11 months and wait for government to come for them or the OSP to come for them or whoever to come for them. As I said, self-preservation.
So from where you sit, it is too late in the day now?
Well, I don't know. I guess we will find out whether the assets are still there or not.
Okay.
We will find out. I don't know whether there are any plans to do that. I don't know what the OSP's, plan is. And there are a lot of questions now, given everything that we've looked at, about their tactical, how do I put it? The options that they've chosen tactically to get here, or let me say thus far. There are a lot of question marks on those tactics, I think.
Help us understand. What are the tactics that there are question marks about?
So what I mean is that, as I was saying just now, we could have gotten to this place quicker. We could have taken advantage of the former minister offering to actually have a dialogue. His lawyers are here. He said all communications can also be passed through the lawyers. I don't know how much advantage the OSP has taken of that whole situation. People could have been sent over there to speak to him. So there are various things that could have been done. And as I said, assets could have been frozen.
Is that how criminal prosecution is done? That the suspect is away abroad and then you have to go to them and then speak to them?
Of course not. So
why was this supposed to be,
He is supposed to come. Or he wasn't supposed to leave in the first place. But as I said, the horse has bolted. So now you are trying to do damage limitation.
Okay.
So how do you get the information? You have to get it somewhere.